night was calm, but her heart wasn't. Melissa Carter sat in the back of the city bus, staring at her reflection in the window as streetlights streaked past. Her hair was tied back hastily, her fingers were red from scrubbing dishes all day, and the faint scent of lemon detergent clung to her uniform. She had exactly 10 minutes before she'd meet him, the man she'd been talking to online for 3 months. But what could she possibly say when she looked like this? What could a man like Daniel, a financial analyst with a downtown apartment, see in a woman who worked double shifts cleaning offices just to keep her younger brother in school? If you believe that kindness, second chances, and real love still exist in this world, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel. Every small gesture helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Melissa stepped off the bus into the chilly evening air. Her uniform still bore the logo of the cleaning service, Bright Space Janitorial, stitched over her heart. She thought about running into the nearest cafe bathroom to change into the floral dress she had stuffed in her tote. But she knew there wasn't time. The bus had been late, and Daniel was already waiting at the small Italian restaurant downtown. Her sneakers squeaked on the wet pavement as she walked faster, her heart pounding louder than her steps. She had almost canceled the date twice that day. Once when her supervisor had yelled at her for missing a spot under a desk. Again when she'd spilled bleach on her wrist and it left a faint burn. But somehow something deeper inside had told her not to give up. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was the thought that even someone like her deserved a night where she could just feel seen. The restaurant glowed softly with warm light. People sat around tables with laughter and soft music filling the air. Melissa hesitated outside the glass door. Through the window she saw Daniel, clean cut, in a gray blazer, scrolling through his phone. He looked just like his pictures. Handsome, confident, the kind of man who probably never had to worry about bus schedules or detergent-stained hands. She almost turned back, but Daniel looked up just then and saw her. Their eyes met. He smiled and stood. Melissa's breath caught. She wanted to hide her hands behind her back, afraid he'd notice the calluses, the smell of her day, the exhaustion in her eyes. But he walked to the door and opened it for her before she could decide. The first few moments were awkward. She apologized for being late, for not having time to change, for everything. But Daniel simply gestured for her to sit and said he was glad she came. His voice was calm, sincere, like someone who meant what he said. She didn't know how to respond. She had built her life around apologies and explanations. Kindness, especially the effortless kind, was still new to her. As dinner went on, she found herself relaxing. He asked her about her job and she told him, hesitantly, about her cleaning work, her brother Mason, who was 17 and applying for colleges, and how she'd been working since she was 15 after their parents died in a car accident. She laughed softly, saying she wasn't embarrassed to work hard, but sometimes she wished her life didn't always smell like bleach and soap. Daniel listened quietly, his expression thoughtful. Then he told her something she didn't expect. He said he had grown up poor too. His father a mechanic, his mother a waitress. He knew what it meant to come home with sore hands and no savings. "I still remember the smell of engine oil in my dad's jacket," he said, looking at her with gentle eyes. "So detergent and dreams? That's not something to hide." Something in Melissa's chest tightened, and her eyes grew wet. She had spent so long hiding her struggle that she had forgotten what it felt like to be accepted for it. For the first time in years, someone didn't pity her or talk down to her. He just understood. Over the next weeks, they met again and again, sometimes after her shift, sometimes on his lunch breaks. Daniel would bring her small things, a thermos of coffee, a pair of gloves when it got cold. Once he even visited her at work, pretending to need a restroom just to see her smile. Her coworkers teased her endlessly, calling him the Wall Street boyfriend, but Melissa didn't care. For the first time, she felt like her world was beginning to change. Still, deep inside, she feared it couldn't last. Daniel was from a different world. His colleagues drove Teslas, while she still saved coins in a jar to pay the rent. She never told him how she sometimes skipped meals to save for Mason's books, or how she borrowed a neighbor's phone when hers got cut off. Love, she thought, was not meant for people like her. That belief shattered one night when Mason called from school. crying. He'd been accepted into a college, but they needed the admission deposit by Monday. Melissa's entire savings, every penny, still fell short. She worked all weekend, taking extra shifts, sleeping barely 3 hours a night. By Monday morning, her legs trembled with fatigue, but she managed to gather almost enough. Almost. That evening, she met Daniel again. He immediately noticed how pale she looked, how her hands trembled when she held the glass of water. When he asked what was wrong, she tried to hide it, but the tears betrayed her. She told him everything. Daniel listened quietly, then reached across the table and held her hand. He didn't offer money or empty comfort. He simply said, "You've carried the world for too long, Melissa. Let someone help you for once." She refused at first, shaking her head. "I don't want your pity," she whispered. "I just want to make it on my own." He smiled softly. "Then let me be someone who believes in you, not someone who pities you." That night after she left, Daniel transferred the missing amount directly to the school's account anonymously. When Mason told her the next day that a donor had completed the payment, Melissa broke down, crying in the supply closet at work. She knew exactly who had done it, but she couldn't bring herself to confront him. The next time they met, she was quiet, unsure how to speak. Daniel noticed. Finally, she asked him why he had done it. He looked at her for a long time and said, "Because I believe that people like you are what make this world beautiful. You spent your whole life cleaning up other people's messes. Someone should at least once help clean yours." That broke her. She covered her face and sobbed, not from sadness but from relief. The weight she'd carried for so long seemed to lift. Months passed. Mason started college. Melissa switched jobs, taking a position managing a small cleaning team in an office building near Daniel's firm. Life still wasn't perfect. Money was tight, the hours were long, but she smiled more now. The detergent smell never left her hands, but Daniel told her it reminded him of courage, the kind that didn't fade with perfume. Their love story wasn't built on luxury dinners or weekend getaways. It was built on shared sandwiches, tired smiles, and the quiet strength of two people who refused to give up on hope. Sometimes after her shift, Melissa would find Daniel waiting in the parking lot with takeout boxes and 2 cups of tea. They'd sit in his car, talking about everything and nothing. Those were her favorite nights. Then came the evening that changed everything again. Daniel invited her to dinner at the same restaurant where they first met. When she arrived, this time wearing a simple blue dress and her favorite perfume, she saw that he had reserved the same corner table. A single candle flickered between them. She smiled, remembering how nervous she had been that first night. "I'm not smelling like detergent tonight," she joked softly. Daniel smiled back. "Good," he said, "because tonight I want you to smell like the rest of your life." Before she could ask what he meant, he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Her breath caught. The restaurant seemed to fade into silence. He looked into her eyes and said, "Melissa Carter, I fell in love with your hands before I ever touched them. The hands that worked, struggled, cared, and still found time to dream. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her cheeks as she nodded. She couldn't even find the words. The people at nearby tables clapped softly, and Daniel slipped the ring onto her trembling finger. For the first time, Melissa felt like her life, every long night, every broken dream, every scar, had led her to this one perfect moment. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stories like these remind us that love isn't about luxury. It's about seeing beauty where others see imperfection. Before you leave, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Do you believe that true love can rise from humble beginnings? Your thoughts might inspire someone who needs hope tonight. As they walked out of the restaurant hand in hand, Melissa looked up at the night sky. It was the same city she'd always known, the same world that once made her feel invisible. But now every light seemed to shine just a little brighter. And though she still smelled faintly of detergent, she finally understood. Sometimes dreams don't come after the work. Sometimes they're born right in the middle of it.